Okay. So I kind of had this little download come through the other day, and I'm finally getting a chance to share it with you. Um, so let's talk about twin flames for a minute. Most people are familiar with the term, but I think the majority of people, at least most of the people that I've heard talk about it, um, they are a little bit mixed up and confused between what the difference is between a karmic bond and a twin flame and a soulmate. Um, Most people can probably figure out the karmic bond thing, but a lot of people seem to get confused between twin flames and soulmates, and they describe both of them as basically the same thing, and they are entirely different. So people get really excited, and I often hear and see people that are on this quest to try to meet their twin flame, thinking that their twin flame is like their soulmate. Um, but they're two entirely different concepts. So your soulmate is like when it's everything is like it's completely peaceful. It's there's a feeling of contentment no matter what. Like nothing ever goes wrong between you and a soulmate. Everything just feels smooth. It feels perfect. They're your people. They're your soul family initially. So there's like an instant understanding between each other. There's really not any intense strong feelings. It just feels very comfortable and safe. And that's your soulmate. And a lot of times, most of the time, we tend to think that your soulmate is going to be a romantic partnership, or that your twin flame is going to be a romantic partnership. When it comes to soulmates, that's not typically the case. Your soulmates usually are not a romantic partnership. They are people that come into your life, and they are in your life forever. You will typically know them almost your entire life. So this can be like a lifelong best friend or family member, that just brings you that feeling of being extremely safe. It makes life just feels very content and smooth. And you need these people, right? These people are the ones that are going to help you on the journey when you do meet your twin flame, because the twin flame creates very, very intense energy, very, very good energy, and then bad energy, right? It goes up and down. It is a teeter-totter. So you have this really good light energy that comes from your twin flame, that your twin flame initially mirrors back to you. So keep in mind that when you're with a twin flame is a mirror of yourself, okay? And you will encounter somebody, you'll encounter one person in your life that will mirror back the best parts of you and the absolute worst parts of you. That person is your twin flame. You're going to have a very, very strong connection to that person. And when they're mirroring back that good and that light energy, it's like euphoric. I mean, it feels like you are full of this life force energy. Like you feel on top of the world. Like things just cannot get any better than that. And it's super exciting and it's fulfilling at the same time. But what they're mirroring back to you is the best parts of you. That's what your twin flame is bringing out. But at the same time, your twin flame is going to mirror back to you the darkest parts of you. It's going to mirror back your shadow and where you need to work on the most growth. It can be extremely difficult. So that energy of the shadow is very intense as well. But what it does is it's so difficult. It actually has you it has you recognizing a little more self-awareness. It has you realizing what exactly you're all about, your triggers, the things that that come up that bother you in this other person are actually things that you need to look inward at, not at them, but inward. And it can really have you questioning your reality, actually, like a lot, because everything that you think you knew about yourself, now they're bringing these things up to the surface, and you're kind of realizing that maybe you didn't know yourself quite as well as what you thought you did. Like I said, they're a mirror reflection of your darker self. And that darker self is like your personal perspective about yourself and about everything else. And they bring that out, and they can alter that and have you seeing things in a different light. They can change your perspective about yourself like almost instantly. And it's very intense, and it really is an up and down type of situation for a while. There is chances that your twin flame can be a romantic partner, and a lot of times your twin flame is that. Simply because nobody's going to want to meet their twin flame, and nobody's going to engage in shadow work. Nobody's going to want to learn about the darker parts of themselves on their own so much, right? Like something has to initiate that. And because we're humans and we're always craving affection, humans are always striving to meet somebody, to be committed in a relationship with somebody. That's part of human nature, is to establish that kind of romantic partnership and that connection. So your twin flame will come in a lot of times as a romantic partner in your life, because it's almost like that's like the lure on the fishing line, right? Like that's what you're gonna focus and see first, and it's gonna pull you in, is this attraction, that feeling of connection and whatnot, and then that desire to have that romantic connection with somebody else and that commitment. So it kind of lures you in that way, and that's why a lot of times your twin flame does tend to be a romantic partnership. And these darker parts of yourself these are the feelings that you're going to get when you're feeling like anger or fear or vengeance, when you're feeling worthless, those are those types of feelings. But those feelings are extremely powerful feelings too. And part of the lesson in it all is figuring out how you're going to alchemize that power, how you're going to use it. You're going to turn those feelings into power, right? So you're alchemizing them, but how are you doing it? Like, are you alchemizing them for the benefit of just yourself, or alchemizing them to learn more about yourself so that you can benefit, so you can heal these areas that need healing and work on, controlling them more, or learning how to release these feelings better, whatever the case may be that you need to work on. And you get that choice about maybe alchemizing them into like something else and creating them into something else that's going to benefit everybody else instead. And then you have the light side, which we talked about, which is basically the same thing. So it's all of those are going to be super, super intense feelings and emotions, but they're going to be good, and they're going to be lighter on that side. And it's the same thing. You get to choose and decide how you're going to alchemize those into power, and then how you're going to use them. Personally, I feel like the twin flame uses these up and down kind of energy levels and stuff like that to teach you more and more self-awareness during your Ascension journey. So it's gonna first show you like all the light stuff and all the good stuff and everything, because that's what's gonna pull you in. That's what's gonna hook you and keep you wanting to to be there and engage in it. And then it's gonna pull the rug out from under you, and it's gonna show you that whole other darker side for a little while, right? But they're gonna be there to support you through it at the same time, because what you're seeing in them is a mirror reflection of what's actually in yourself. And after that, they're gonna send you that light again, and then everything's gonna be like, great. You're gonna have all those like intense, really, really super good feelings and emotions again, and it's a cycle that repeats itself, because every single time that you're being sent and you're shown like those darker parts of you, and it has you questioning what you really knew about yourself and has you questioning your reality a little bit, you're also learning a lesson. So it's an opportunity to learn a lesson. And they give you a little bit of a break in between before the next lesson. And depending on what you learn through each one of those darker shadow parts, those mirrored energy, each of those darker parts, depending on what you learn from that, is going to set the mark for that next lesson. And you're going to keep doing that, and it's going to continue over and over and over again throughout your life, while you're living on this earth, right? And then some of us won't learn all of these lessons that we need to know, and then we're going to recycle back. And when we come back in a new life, into a new dimension, we're going to meet the same person over and over again, who's going to continue turning your world upside down and having you questioning reality and everything you knew about yourself. And it's just going to keep doing that over and over again. It's not such a bad thing, but it's super intense, and it's really hard to understand what's at play and what's really going on in that heat of the moment, whether it's good or bad. It's hard to identify it, but it's really an interesting concept. But anyway, so that was one of them that had come through, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks, because it's exactly like what's going on in my life right now. I've met my twin flame, and it's been the same thing. Like, it's constantly showing me all these little bits and pieces about myself that I thought I knew, and then I have to sit back and I have to look at them a little bit more. And I'm doing the same thing for him. And it's tricky, and it's hard to navigate that. And it's really hard to like recognize it when you're in the moment. But every single time that you do, and you can take a step back and you can think about it for a minute and figure out what in them is pulling out that shadow part of you, or even the best parts of you, and be able to recognize it. Most of us are more focused on the shadow part than the best part, because we're not thinking on it in that level, right? Like, we're not looking at it as a mirror when it's the good stuff so much. We're really not even looking at it so much as a mirror when it's not the good stuff. But that's how it should be looked at, because we all know that every single person that you meet in your life is a mirror of something within you anyway. There's always that connection, but your twin flame will come in, and just that energy and that connection is super, it's intense, and it's really deep, and it goes deep, and it can be really hard to navigate through all of that, especially with the shadow work stuff, because nobody really wants to address and recognize the shadow and the darker aspects of themselves. We don't like to see that, but that's exactly what the twin flame shows us.